Hey everyone, Chris from Computer Stuff. Today what we want to discuss is the Apple Watch Ultra. Now this is definitely the best expression of the Apple Watch that they've ever made. It's got the best battery life, the best sensors, best GPS, best speakers, best everything. It's the Ultra watch. But is it still the best watch for, is it the best watch for everyone? And well, we're gonna kind of talk about that a little bit in this video. Now I warn you, this video is very boring. We pretty much just discuss the Apple Watch. So, if that's not your thing, move on. But we do go into some pretty in-depth details as to whether you should buy one yourself and maybe who this watch is for. Anyway, we appreciate you all watching and let's get right to it. Hey everyone, all right, so I was a little torn on how I wanted to approach this Apple Watch Ultra review because everybody kind of know, chances are if you're watching this video, you've already found out that the Apple Watch Ultra has better battery life, it's got better GPS systems, and there's kind of like a slew of upgrades that they've done to the Apple Watch Ultra that make it, well, the Ultra. It's the best one they've ever made. The Series 8 is largely the same formula as the 7, with some minor upgrades, but the Ultra is really the one, it's just the Ultra. It's the ultimate Apple Watch expression, as Johnny Ives probably would say. So, although he's not around anymore. So let me just dive into a couple of quick things regarding the Apple Watch Ultra, and then we can sort of suss out if you should buy one of these watches or who it might be for. So, first and foremost, battery life is a reported 2 to 3 days on the Apple Watch Ultra. Now, I haven't, it basically is true. So I did a workout yesterday and the day before. I charged it, not yesterday, but the day before in the morning. And then we are now on day 3 effectively with 25% battery life left. So yes, you will get with typical usage, you'll probably get 2 to 3 days. And that's not even including the sort of new battery mode that they're going to be releasing here, within the next couple of months. But is 2 to 3 days enough for outdoorsy people? And I still don't think that it is. If you look at a Instinct Solar 2, this thing will last, basically a half a month to a month, depending on settings and usages and sensors and stuff like that. Of course, you've got the TISO, which will last, just forever, and still give you some kind of outdoorsy metrics. Now, the Apple Watch is certainly more advanced than the TISO for sure, but than the Instinct Solar 2. It's got obviously a much more advanced screen. It has, I would argue, it has better sensors. You can use this thing as a smartwatch where you speak into it. It's got the little microphones, although so does the Instinct Solar's 2s now. But is that really what you want as an outdoor watch? And I'm not really sure that it is. Let's go ahead and actually talk about some additional changes here. They obviously have this crown guard here, which I think is a really nice touch. They've got the crown, which, again, is awesome. Apple's crown is far and beyond one of the best ones there is, except it is prone to getting dirt and sand in there sometimes, and then will has problems pressing. And then you have, of course, the normal button, and then now this new action button, this orange action button that's new for the Apple Watch Ultras. Like by default, it is linked to your workouts, but you can tag this thing to pretty much anything that you want. I think that the addition of the action button was a great design choice because I would like to see less touchscreen interaction with the Apple Watch in general. I feel that the touchscreen is Apple Watch's biggest Achilles heel. If you are doing any kind of water sports or whether it's swimming, kayaking, or you're showering, something like that, there is a tremendous amount of accidental input on the Apple Watch's screen. That also can be said for if you are doing things like biking or push-ups or something like that, and you have like a shirt or your hand or something like that touches the buttons, can also cause some unnecessary interaction with the screen as well. The nice thing though is that they kind of resolved that with the crown guard, at least on the Ultra, but that is still definitely a problem on the Series 8. But while we're talking about accidental input, I will actually say that the action button has been somewhat problematic for me. So for example, if we hit the workout button, flexibility or something, when I have been running or doing some strength training, I will accidentally hit the action button with my wrist, and it does this marking a segment thing, and then it kind of hides the screen for a second until it gets over to the next, until it kind of goes away and then gets back to the screen. I kind of like, I don't know what it is with Apple, and like, I love this button. You need this action button for sure. But Apple just needs to figure out how to make the Apple Watch like make interacting with the Apple Watch less intrusive. Those same problems never happen with the Garmin Instinct Solar 2, and for that matter, really the Fenix 7 either, and it's because they don't rely on a touch screen, and they've just got a lot of buttons all sort of logically placed, kind of doing their own thing. Whereas, I guess it's just because of the limited way that you can interact with an Apple Watch, it's just not smart. And they made this button big so you could hit it with gloves, which I'm all for, but I don't know, still. But that said, if Apple could just design some kind of functionality to be able to let the Apple Watch know when it is on or near water, it would be just a tremendous upgrade. That, and if they, had like better battery life on it too, that would just make it, it really would make it the best like smartwatch that you could, possibly have. Back to the battery life thing again, if you are camping or going outdoors or something like that, the last thing you want to worry about is your battery life. With an Instinct Solar 2, you just don't have to worry about it. Same can be said about the TISO. But on an Apple Watch Ultra, you're still going to need that battery pack floating around. For example, I am going to be doing a through hike on the Appalachian Trail here soon, and I am probably going to end up taking the Instinct Solar 2, because even though the Apple Watch Ultimate now has all this great stuff such as backtracking and all of the nice outdoor features that you want, it still doesn't have, you still just can't rely on it in terms of the battery. Speaking of the backtracking, if you hold these two buttons together, actually what is it here, if you hold all three buttons together, brings up this little like emergency screen. You can do the siren, you can do the compass backtrack, which I really like. Start backtrack, Apple Watch can record your route in case you get lost. Kind of a nice feature, but again, something that's been on the Garmin's for a while. Let's go ahead and just dive into some of the features, I guess, they've added to the Apple Watch Ultra. You do have this new, depth thing, so if you're diving, it'll be, it's good for that. You've got medication reminders, although that's now just new with the software. A couple of other nice little things too. The audio quality, the speaker and the microphone are the best that Apple has produced. Unfortunately, I don't have a comparison available, but we did get a much better experience talking through the Apple Watch Ultra than we did with the Apple Watch Series 8. Another thing to note about the Apple Watch Ultra is that it is absolutely gigantic in size. Meaning that this watch is probably really only going to be like a contender for men and maybe women that don't mind a honkin' watch on their wrist. I had my wife put this on and it was, it just engulfed her entire wrist. And I know when you look at the Garmin and the Apple Watch Ultra kind of side by side, they look sort of the same. But like, for whatever reason, the Apple Watch Ultra just wears bigger. Now that said, the Apple Watch Ultra is still very lightweight. So that titanium that they've used, and that's, by the way, that is a really nice thing about the Apple Watch Ultra, titanium, you got better glass, it's more shatterproof, more scratch resistant. So even though it wears very big, it's not cumbersome. Like, it still feels good when you're jogging, doesn't shake around like too much. It's a really solid, it does that pretty well. The new bands that you can pick from, I'd probably pick the orange one, but this green one is pretty decent. That's mostly just preference on color and what you're doing, obviously. It's still still an Apple Watch. If you like the Apple Watch, if you don't mind the paltry battery life or the touch screen, then you are going to love the Apple Watch Ultra. You're obviously going to need a wrist for it, but hell, that's just the way it is. One thing though that nobody is talking about on Apple Watch Ultra reviews are the 4 screws that are now present on the back of this. For those interested, there is an iFixit teardown of the Apple Watch Ultra in which they took the 4 screws out, were able to take the back off. One notable issue, of course, with the screws, though, and the repairability is simply that there is a gasket in here that is what affords it its 100-meter waterproofness. And that gasket is still sealed down and apparently a bear to get in and out of there and replace. So repairability on the Apple Watch Ultra it's still not so ultra. In hopes of kind of wrapping this up quickly, and again, let's get some nice close-ups of the Apple Watch Ultra here. I mean, it is a very good-looking watch. Bezel, by the way, is I think a little bit more protective than the old Apple Watch design. However, if you are rock climbing or getting into the weeds or something like that, this is not really going to protect it all that much. First off, this bezel is going to get beat up and scratched and get really, really nasty really, really fast. But ultimately, if you're, if you slap this up against a, rock side or something like that, I mean, this screen is done for. My wife, unfortunately, had a really bad bike accident a few years ago where basically, wrist down straight onto the asphalt, shattered her Apple Watch face. That same exact thing would happen with this. That is the Apple Watch Ultra. Should you buy one yourself? If you are an outdoor person and you are hiking, all of that good stuff, I still think you should buy the Instinct Solar 2 or a Garmin Fenix 7. If you want the best diving smartwatch, yeah, this one's probably going to be, up there in the contenders. If you want, and I'm going to actually do a separate video on the sensor quality on the Apple Watch versus the Garmin as well as the Oura Ring. If you want the watch with the best sensors in it, as far as heart rate monitoring, SpO2, that kind of thing, Apple's sensors are obsessively the best ones. So that would be maybe another reason why you might want it. I've also had clients talk about how the EKG reading in there has literally saved their life. So that's a really nice thing not offered on the Instinct Solar. So yes, smartwatch, Apple Watch. Outdoor person, Instinct Solar 2. If you just want the best looking smartwatch, yeah, still go with the Apple Watch Ultra. So that's who it's for. Although I don't know, the Tissot is a handsome timepiece. Certainly a handsome timepiece. Anyway, for all of our loyal viewers out there, we know that you all know that we don't like to just crap on products on this channel. We like to give constructive feedback to the manufacturers on ways that they could improve. What would be my perfect Apple Watch? Well, everybody's perfect Apple Watch would be one that would have better battery life. Even if it's just maybe hitting the 4 or 5 day mark, which would be ideal. But that aside, if you could make, and this will never happen, by the way, but if you could make an Apple Watch that does not have a touchscreen, and I'll just do a quick walkthrough on how I think that could be feasible. But you have an action button here. Maybe you add another action button. So that way you have four buttons in total that can all kind of do some stuff. In something like the grid screen, where you obviously have to move around, you could instead default it to be the list view. And that way you never need to have a, you don't ever have to interact with the app screen because, well, you can scroll through your apps. It would obviously be highlighted. Scroll through your apps. And then you could, let's say you wanted shortcuts, that obviously it highlights shortcuts, and then boom, you go into shortcuts, for example, right? Well, that's obviously fine for the app screen. That's a solution for that, but that's not really a solution for stuff like messages, email, and all these other things. So now obviously they've added, if we go to the Messages app, they've now had the ability to type on here. So if we go to the Messages screen, well, what are you going to do here? Well, obviously, some people are going to want to do the typing thing. But what if you just had dictation? The Apple's dictation has gotten fairly well. And you could also then use the scroll or the crown to be able to scroll through the different words that you maybe need to change if something gets inputted incorrectly. I mean, again, if you are selecting, there aren't many apps that you would need. Even if we do Waterminder, there aren't a whole lot of apps that require the touch screen. Even the workout mode, like Waterminder, you could just, scroll through the, various things and it highlights the one you want. You hit the button to select it. That's been on watches, watches for centuries, right? You find something that you want and then you just select it. That's how it is on the Tissot. let's see, you want the activity screen, right? So you hit that, boom, you hit the little crown to push in, and that selects the thing that you want. It's the same thing on the Garmin. Well, it could be that same thing on the Apple Watch. And even the workout. So you go to the workout, you select outdoor run, and you just use the scroll wheel to interact with the various screens and interfaces. The fourth button could be like a select, the different tab kind of thing. And then you obviously then you would not need a lock screen thing because, well, there's nothing to lock. But I mean, like, how do you do music controls? Well, I mean, the Garmin figured out how to do music controls. Let's scroll over to music controls. You interact with the different functions with the buttons. Lets you do, volume, play, pause, next track, all that stuff. So it is doable. You could have an Apple Watch sans touchscreen. And I think that would just be better. And by the way, if it didn't have the touchscreen, it would also have better battery life. So you're killing two birds with one stone there. Anyway, that is just a dream. Never gonna happen. But that's how I think I would improve the Apple Watch, is get rid of the touchscreen and better battery life. But since they won't get rid of the touchscreen, figure out a way to make it like water sensitive, or be able to interact with it in water. Man, that would be just the magic touch, right? To be able to like have this thing in water and interacting with it. So anyway, that's that. That's the Apple Watch Ultra. Appreciate you all watching. If you have any questions, reach out to us in the comment section. Please like and subscribe, and we will be back with another video soon.